What is going on, everyone? This is Nate the Great coming to you live from the All Sports All Plays Network. Actually, live this time, as we didn't realize 30 minutes into it that we weren't live. But anyway, I am here today with Ray Cruz. Ray, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. You ready to get this show on the road? You know, we're rolling with some high flyers. So we're getting ready to get some of this Raw, SmackDown, Hell in the Cell talk going.
Yeah. So let's start things off. Let's start things off with with Friday Night SmackDown. As the first match of the night was Big E versus Kevin Owens versus Big E and Kevin Owens versus Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz. This was probably my one of the least favorite matches of the night. Crews and Commander Aziz defeated Kevin Owens and Big E. Aziz, I really don't like what they're doing with Apollo Crews. Let's just be honest with you. Like, I know you said this in shows in the past. Apollo Crews with his accent is really first off, it was unexpected because before the Commander Aziz came in, he didn't have his accent, and now he does.
Yeah, this is Nigerian. By the way, we're not related. We got the same last name, but we're not related. So, anyway, just get that out of the way. But anyway, with Apollo Crews and his accent, he's been in wrestling. He's been in WWE for about, I think, 3 or 4 years now, and he never had an accent. Now all of a sudden, he went off the air and came back on when he had a Nigerian accent. I don't believe in the storyline. This first match was, I think, was a throwaway match anyway, because it was setting up. We know they've been talking about it. Big E doesn't have any storyline to go on. They wasted that storyline with the Intercontinental title when they put it up around Apollo Crews. I think Big E's on his way to move up into a bigger role. There are reports that when the WWE do a draft, they could be going back to Monday Night Raw. We'll see what that kind of situation is going to develop at towards the end of the year when they do the actual WWE draft again. So I really don't see what this match is really doing. We have it also that Kevin Owens is going to be taking some time off. There's been rumors around there. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but him being in that first match and the way they put this match together, I think it's just because they had let a lot of wrestlers go, so they didn't have that many people. So this could be just a throwaway match to get SmackDown going to get to the meat and potatoes of the show.
See, this is why they should not have cut Aleister Black.
Yeah, that storyline with Alex Black could have been great.
Okay, after the Fatal 4-Way, ending up with Aleister Black doing that roundhouse kick on Big E, and all of a sudden he gets cut.
Yeah, it's more to it than it's more to that with Alex Black and Vince McMahon. They had a big issue, big fight or something, and Vince just had to get rid of him. So I mean, I think that could be a bite in the tush for Vince.
Shinsuke Nakamura, so setting up for this next match. Shinsuke Nakamura faced King Corbin for Friday night in the Battle of the Crown. Nakamura defeated King Corbin, and as we talked a lot about before the show, you think that this is going to be set up for a King Corbin? The King Corbin gimmick is gone. So Corbin is probably going to be set up for a bigger role.
It could be a possibility. I like Corbin when he first came in his gimmick in NXT. I think that could bring. That's the way to bring it back and put it on him. Because he was dominating. He was dominating in NXT, And I like that kind of gimmick for him because he's a big 6'10" guy. He's a big guy. He could pull it off in the main roster too if they just, have him begin to back his ways. So it's another way to try to rebuild him back into a dominant character, dominant figure in here. They do have they have their, what can I say? They have him in a prospect of ability to bring him back as a dominant wrestler. And when Nakamura, I believe that he's been unhappy with WWE the way he came in. He figured that he was going to have a bigger role in this match and in the organization as becoming a world's champion. He wants to become a world's champion. He's been saying that over and over. So I think he wants to go back to New Japan, back to New Japan Wrestling where he can compete for a world's title there. So this gimmick with him right now, they they really don't know how to book him. He's an unusual talent. Him with the U.S. title was a good run, good little gimmick there. Him could be an Intercontinental Champion, could be a good gimmick there for him. But this King stuff, they just need to go in since he won the crown and have him destroy the crown, and then you can put him back into a race with the Intercontinental title. But Vince really don't know how to use him right now. It's kind of former when he first came in. They used him perfectly with AJ Styles and stuff, and then when that kind of tail off, he kind of tailed off in the way Vince was booking him. I believe that's why he's unhappy with Vince. So we might see what's going to go on here with him and Nakamura. Nakamura decided to leave. Either Vince will cut him or he'll leave and go back to New Japan where he can compete.
So this leaves me with an interesting question. What would they do with Rick?
I don't know. That's I haven't really thought about that. That's a really interesting question.
So up with the next match of the night. I think there was really only 3 matches among Friday Night SmackDown, and that was the Hell in the Cell match. I loved, so you, as we talked about before, I loved why the reasoning behind. I love how they set this up. I just don't like that Rey Mysterio did not win this. Now I get why. I just don't like that. Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think it's a way to get the Usos and have Jimmy Uso, one of the Usos who have, always been advocating, didn't want to join Roman Reigns, now finally accepted Roman Reigns at the head of the table, and now he helped him out. So now you put the Usos together and have him go up against Rey Mysterio and his son for the tag team titles, and that's where the Usos need to be right now. They need to be competing for the tag team titles, and that's one way to do it with this gimmick here, and to have Roman Reigns won it and have the other Uso who wasn't part of the head of the table accept him as the head of the table and destroy him. So now you get the Usos back together and have them go up against Dominique and Mysterio for the next storyline. So that's why I think that head of the table, and then plus it was rumored that Roman Reigns couldn't make it to Hell in the Cell either because I guess he has some issues with his family or something like that. I understand he's a big family guy, so let's compete. Give him the good things, so they put him on SmackDown and had the Hell in the Cell there. And I think it was kind of good with the way they did it and not have it actually on the pay-per-view, because I think it would have brought the pay-per-view down a little bit more, because pretty much I could see the prediction of this ending with one of the other Uso, that didn't want to be part of the thing, to become part of it, to put the Usos back together and to go on with the title and get the approval by Roman Reigns so they could compete for the title.
So that's all that we have on the Friday Night SmackDown side of things. Up next is the WWE Helm the Cell, and actually started off with a kickoff show. The kickoff show was Natalya versus Mandy Rose. Now, Natalya defeated Mandy Rose in the kickoff show. So, what do you have for that?
For the kickoff show, I think it was good to have Mandy Rose against Natalya. They trust each other. They work out with each other. Natalya is helping Mandy Rose out, and Dana Brooks helping them out. That's the way she's a consummate professional about it. She doesn't, hold back. She doesn't make her, wants to be. She knows she wants to be a women's champion one day. I think that she deserves it because she doesn't have any come out. She doesn't come out and bad talk WWE. She doesn't do anything like that. She pays her dues. She helps other wrestlers get over. So, I mean, it's time for her to have that women's championship. And with Mandy Rose, and, one day she could end up competing for a women's champion. But right now, I think her and Dana Brooks are a good team. I think they should now start competing for the women's title. And I think that's why they're working that one-on-one right now with Natalya and Mandy. And then you probably see Tamina and Dana Brooks work on one-on-one and see how that chemistry goes, and then put them together and see how the chemistry goes. If the chemistry works out good, then you might see some world championship title matches between the four competitors.
Now I have a question. Do you think that there's going to be more to this storyline? And do you think that, like Mandy Rose joins, Natalya and Tamina and maybe like put a gimmick on them?
Well, they could. I mean, actually, that could work too because you can put Natalya, Tamina. Natalya is the daughter of Anvil Neidhart, part of the Hart Foundation with Bret Hart. Tamina is a daughter of Jimmy Fly Snooker. So, I mean, Jimmy Fly Snooker and Anvil Neidhart has been the big WWE people and back in the WWF days. So, I mean, you put them together and create a stable to go up against, try to, take over for the Universal title, be a stable that, hey, we deserve a shot at the women's title. I mean, you could put the Hart Foundation type gimmick back on them, make them the Hart Foundation. I mean, they all wear, I mean, Mandy Rose used to wear pink. Dana Brooks used to wear pink. Natalya wears pink. To me, is the only one that wears black out of the whole deal. So you put pink and black. There you go. You make them the Hart Foundation.
So really after that match, we had the SmackDown Women's Championship Hell in the Cell match, Bianca Belair versus Bayley, and so the winner of this match was Bianca Belair, defeated Bayley to retain the championship. For this match, I have a prediction, and I keep doing it. I don't know why. The last remaining Riot Squad member that's still in the WWE,
Liv Morgan.
Thanks. I think that she's going to be the next one to come up for the women's tag team title as soon as this storyline ends.
Well, to that, you got to figure out how you're going to mix her in. You're going to have to figure out. I mean, like Liv Morgan's been working out. I've been seeing videos online of her working out with Natalya, with TJ, or Natalya's husband, who used to be formed with the Hart Foundation with Davey Boy Smith's son. So, I mean, they've been working out. TJ is now a trainer at the Performance Center. He also works at the backhands with people in WWE. So I've seen videos with Liv Morgan, doing different moves and learning her craft. I think she's still kind of raw. She's a good on the mic. She's starting to be good on the mic. Her talents are starting to come out. She's been working some good matches. I can see it happen, but probably not this year. Maybe towards the end of 2022. Maybe depends on how good she gets between now and then. We just got to find out if the WWE is going to hold Liv Morgan, or they're going to let her go too. I mean, if they let her go, then they're going to make a big mistake because she's a bright future star, and she's good on the mic. She's You know, I mean, she puts out good Instagram, Twitter posts. Um, she knows how to work, the crowd and stuff like that in the matches. Just needs to put a little bit more talent and put a little bit more, muscles on, maybe make her to look legit. And you can see that happening. And the way they could probably in this one here, but I don't know. Maybe Bayley's going to win the title, and then you have Liv Morgan go up against Bayley.
Okay. After that match, Cesaro faced Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins defeated Cesaro. Now, where do they go from there? Do you think that this Cesaro and Seth Rollins storyline is pushed out a little too much?
Well, I mean, if you look at the way the storyline started out, Seth Rollins is the one that started the storyline off. Jumping Cesaro, after that he came back out when he returned, and Cesaro was the only one left in the ring. He didn't, then he left, and then that's when, he stood up. He actually stood up to Seth Rollins and then made Rollins mad. And then all of a sudden, that storyline was put on hold, and all of a sudden, Cesaro's now going up against Roman Reigns for the title. So, I mean, then they had to put that storyline back to try to end it. I don't know if they're going to end it now or how they're going to end that. It can, to me, if you're using a storyline, a story gimmick, like the Messiah and Seth Rollins, you got to at least put a world title on him. You got to put some kind of title on him, the world, at least a world's heavyweight champion. Then he could be Messiah because that makes more sense because he'd be, he's the world's champion. He's on top of the totem pole. Everybody's gunning for him. Then that storyline could go a little bit more. So if you do that, how you intervene that? How you going to have him go up against Roman Reigns? Are you going to see another triple threat match? I don't want to see that, So they got to figure out a way to put Seth Rollins with Roman Reigns and have him win that belt off of Roman Reigns. But then again, there's been rumors around that John Cena is coming back too to face Roman Reigns in a storyline to where he can win his 17th World's title and then probably hold it all the way to WrestleMania, and Roman Reigns retires, and then he fights, and John Cena loses the belt against Roman Reigns, and then at the end of the match, Roman Reigns, John Cena comes back and says, "I'm retiring from wrestling. I'm going to start on movie control." That's one way to get John Cena away from the marquee. And that's what WWE is trying to do, is get John Cena away from the marquee. They can't do it right now because he's not officially retired from the WWE. And we haven't seen him in a while. He went to like a part-time type wrestler. But him winning the 17th time world championship to beat Ric Flair's, that's one thing Ric Flair has requested. That's the only one that he really wanted to see while he was still living, and see John Cena break it. And I think that's the point that they're bringing him back. The party going to win the title and then have him lose to Roman Reigns and then retire after the match.
So after the Seth Rollins versus Cesaro match, we had Alexa Bliss versus Shayna Baszler. Alexa Bliss defeated Shayna Baszler. This was the match where they gave this grade an F. But I'm honestly disagreeing with it. I think this match was a lot better than what Bleacher Report gave it.
Yeah, I mean, this match should not have been greater than F. I mean, if they're using it as a gimmick, the way Bliss is playing with Shayna Baszler, Baszler does her elbow stomp, put her at that, and hits the elbow, and she starts laughing it off. And I like the way they're putting Bliss. I like the way they're doing it. Bliss's new entrance music is kind of creepy. The way she moves around in the ring now, doing some Wyatt had the reverse spider look, the upside down look. Now you got Bliss crossing her leg over her back, look like a freaking spider or some kind of demon. They're making her, she's like between the Undertaker and Kane gimmick when he first came in, making her look deadly. So they trying to find an Undertaker type character, and they're making Bliss. Every character that Bliss does is excellent. And then her NXT days, she was like a princess. She played that gimmick good. She came in and being a kind of a badass. Excuse my language, but when she came in, I liked her gimmick there. I liked her gimmick against Ronda Rousey. I like this gimmick, and anything you can rebuild yourself, and she's got total control of the crowd, and she got control of her character. I like to see it, but what is this going to evolve? How are they going to bring in? Because I had seen reports that Wyatt's on his way back. He took some time off to get his head straight from, Brody Lee. From Brody Lee's death, they were good friends. So, he's still trying to deal with that. That's some of the reasons that the Fiend was losing. His motion is not fully there, so he went away for a while. So, how are they going to bring him back? Is he going to intervene in the storyline to finish off Alexa Bliss and him storyline, or is he going to join? Or was that all the ploy to have the Fiend come back and join forces with Bliss? So, is there a way you could do away with this character here, because this character is so much in between Undertaker and Kane. That's what they need in WWE, because that's what we're used to for over 20 to 30 years with the Undertaker. So could be a good send off for Bliss and the Fiend.
Let's be honest. I really did not like. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to Monday Night Raw. I did not like how The Miz came back after getting eaten by zombies. I think that he should have been something like creepy and maybe becoming like Miz, like zombie or something like that. Because how can you be eaten by zombies and be perfectly fine a few weeks later?
It's all about WWE. It's all WWE magic.
Anyway, Kevin Owens defeated Sami Zayn. Flip that. Sami Zayn defeated Kevin Owens in this next match. The conspiracy theory match. Now, as you said earlier, you think Kevin Owens is taking some time off from WWE?
Yeah, there's some plans that he wants to take some time off. He's got some injuries that he need to heal up, and also he wants to spend a little bit more time with his family. And that's one thing. When he came to WWE, him and Vince, he sat down with Vince McMahon and said, "Hey, look, I'm a family man. I'm married. I love my family. I love my kids. But at certain points, I want to take some time off to be with my family." And I think this is a certain point, because they're really having him jumping from competing with Roman Reigns all the way down to going all the way back to a lower level match. And I don't think he was feeling it. I don't think Vince was feeling it either. So they're taking some time off to try to reinvent Kevin Owens, maybe. So we'll see how that's going to propel out in the next few months too.
Up next after Kevin Owens, the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match, we had the Hell in the Cell for the WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley, and the winner is Bobby Lashley defeating Drew McIntyre. As we said earlier on a previous show, I like how the deal that they made, because Drew McIntyre lost, he cannot challenge Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship.
Yeah, and the way they use MVP in this, they use all kinds of stuff in him interfering. The Hell in the Cell, you can interfere because no interference call, no disqualification for interference. So they use that side very well. I kind of knew that McIntyre was going to lose. It's just the way they were.
So did I.
Yeah, so it's a good way now. They put him in a Hell in the Cell match. They were going to have him in the Money in the Bank, but Riddle won that when we get to that. But if you look at it this way, now McIntyre has no way to go up against Bobby Lashley. That don't mean he can't beat Bobby Lashley's butt up. He just can't go for a title.
I thought it was just the WWE Championship Monday Night Raw. He can't
go. He can fight Bobby Lashley, but he can't never go for a title.
Oh, okay. After that, that was the last match of Hell in the Cell.
We didn't talk about Ripley.
And the Rhea Ripley one. Now Rhea Ripley lost to Charlotte Flair because of disqualification. Basically, she tore a page out of Charlotte Flair's playbook and used it against her.
I mean, how many times have you seen Charlotte Flair lose, by disqualification? A lot when she's playing a heel. But Ripley's, it's the way that they ended the feud. About a feud when Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair was going up against Ripley all the time, and then her dad interfered with Lacey Evans.
Yeah.
So they went back and they put the belt back on Ripley, and then now they got the feud. They're trying to close out that feud from way back because they left it open. We really didn't know what was going on. So if you see what Ripley is doing, Ripley's probably playing mind games with Charlotte, which Charlotte used to play with everybody else, just giving her a taste of her own medicine. And I think it's a good deploy because, every time you see – because you got to understand, Charlotte's a bad guy. Ripley's a bad guy. Ripley is not a good person. Ripley's supposed to be the bad girl, So you got two bad girls going up against each other. So making Ripley do it with submission, maybe trying to get everybody to side with Flair and put Flair back over as a good person.
So going to Monday Night Raw. Now, I think this was one of the few weeks that Monday Night Raw did better than Friday Night SmackDown. That's just personally me because we saw a lot of new matches, stuff that we have not seen in a while. Opening segment was Ricochet versus AJ Styles, and the winner of this one was Ricochet. To be honest, both of these guys are really talented, but I'm glad that Ricochet is getting some recognition.
Yeah, it's about he's well overdue. It's about time for him to. It's about time for him to be in a battle for a title. I like to see him win Money in the Bank. That's my personal opinion. I think he should be winning Money in the Bank so he can walk around with a contract on his hand and actually cash it in and winning the title. I mean, he's long overdue. He's paid his dues in the WWE. He's been in matches. He's in lost matches. I mean, he's paid his dues. He paid his dues to the veterans like new people should do, leading the way for him. Respect, just a man code of wrestlers. I mean, but now it's time for him to be. Now it's time for them to return the favor and put him over. And I like the way AJ Party stepped up and say, "Hey, I'll lose to the guy." So I mean, also AJ is still part of half of the Raw tag team title with Omos. So I kind of understand the logic behind it, but I think it's time for Ricochet. I think it's time for Ricochet to step up, and I think it's time for WWE to allow Ricochet win the Money in the Bank.
And then up next after that was Asuka versus Naomi versus Eva Marie and Doudrop. What in the world? Okay, I like the match. I just don't like that name.
Doudrop, whatever you want to call it. Well, with this match right here, supposed to be Eva Marie, they brought this girl out. Now I've found out that there's another rumor going around that Eva Marie has now been moved off of WWE's page to the alumni page. So is Eva Marie going to even come back again? We don't know. We got to wait till next Monday Night Raw to find out if Eva Marie is going to even show up or if that's over with. And just having her bring this girl in to get her on the main roster. So, I mean, to me, she's got all the time. She's got all the talent in the world. This girl is very agile for a big person. Using Naomi as a guinea pig because Lana left and they left her out without a tag team partner. So now you got her being a squash person again. I think it's time for Niamh. You know, Niamh was a great champion. I think it's time to put the championship party back on around her too. She's been paid her dues the rest of the time. She lost the belt, been grace, and she's been a good professional. You know, or just take her and make her a manager of the Usos.
And up next after that is okay. So you said manager of the Usos, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Hey, if you're gonna put the head of the table, you might as well put a female in there that he can control on the women's side.
Yeah, true. After that is for the Monday Night Raw, Randy Orton versus John Morrison, and the winner was really more of a distraction from really by distraction. John Morrison won this match over Randy Orton. I really think that we're in a couple of weeks, maybe not next week, but in a couple of weeks, I think the Arcade Bro tag team is going to split.
I think it was in the making of them setting up a storyline, and the way they did it was making it sound like they're going to be tag teams. And next thing you know, Randy Orton turns on them, blah blah blah. I think this is the start of it. I think we might see it over time. I think it could pay dividends in the Money in the Bank ladder match, where Randy Orton distracts Riddle to make Riddle lose for the contract, and then that starts. Then Riddle will start off being looking at him being mean, and you can see that turning off into a feud. And like in past, I've seen articles that Randy Orton wants to have a feud with him. So.
Yeah, I can see that. I totally can see that. After that, after that, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, they had a tag team match against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. And the winner of this one was Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross.
If you watch WWE and you know the Hurricane gimmick and all that, now Nikki Cross is coming up with a superhero gimmick. It's kind of funny. I like the way she's doing it. She's playing it great. If you notice, the colors on her uniform was blue and gold.
Yeah.
What did Sasha Banks wore it on WrestleMania?
Blue and gold.
Yeah, the last pay-per-view she was on. Blue and
gold.
What do you think? What do you think? Nikki Cross
is going to be a manager.
Or it could be a tag team partner with Nikki Cross.
Wow.
And have a strange kind of like a Joker, Supergirl type deal. Or Harley Quinn type deal. I like to see that could be an angle to bring Wyatt back and help Bliss. Bring a Joker and Harley Quinn type character, and then you got two superheroes. Because if you look at Sasha Banks, her uniform at WrestleMania was some sort of like Nikki Cross. So that's you could have like a superhero and against a villain type matches. If you notice, Vince McMahon has put an article out too saying that all matches has to be a storyline match, has to have some kind of gimmick in it.
Okay.
So,
and then after all those qualifying matches for Money in the Bank, we had Xavier Woods versus Bobby Lashley. The winner of this one was Bobby Lashley by Hurt Lock. Now, I didn't mind this. Only because I'm tired. Well, I was tired over that the Hurt Lock was being used over and over and over again. But lately, we haven't really seen much of it outside of last week's Monday Night Raw?
Well, this match was set up because they're trying to argue that Xavier Woods was bad for Kobe Kingston, telling Kobe Kingston he needed to drop with Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods gets mad. There's all that build up for that, but then there's also a build up that as a way to put Xavier Woods off of TV for a while too, because he's doing that Twitch or what kind of host, some kind of game show, a gaming competition type host on Twitch, I think. So they had to do some more taping, and this is the way to get him off the taping and put him in the Hurt Lock, and then have him lock up at the cage at the end with MVP, and then they terrorizing Kofi outside with the Hurt Lock and stuff like that. So they're probably going to write him off as an injury, and then try to write him off TV for a while to it, and then he might come back after the WWE draft. And if all three of them stay on there, I have a good feeling that Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods going to go back, and they'll be the good day with the third member there. So, and then get back in that tag team title picture, and they have Big E try to help out, take out Omos and AJ.
Ooh. I still want to see it. I still want to see. Now, probably not going to happen, but I still want to see Randy Orton RKO almost.
Well, that's going to be. Well, it's got to be. That time has got to be right. They have to go to they get that right. They will have to go to the performance center and practice because Omos doesn't. If you watch it, Omos hasn't really fallen to the ground yet, so we don't know if he can take that fall or if he can lean into it to where the RKO can be applied. Because it's got to be some for Randy Orton to get him down. Omos has got to help him somehow to get that RKO on him, and the only way they're gonna do that is got to have Omos practice his falls. Face first fall. As he's falling down or something, Randy Orton just comes out of nowhere and hits him while he's falling. So you gotta work that gimmick out, and you gotta put it where people won't see it coming. And plus, you don't want to show that Omos is doing all the work, because he's gonna have to do all the work for Randy Orton to hit that RKO on him.
So that's all on the Monday Night Raw. That's all on the Friday Night SmackDown, and that is all for the Hell in the Cell. So that leaves us with the last set of matches to talk about, and that's AEW. First match of the night was MMA cage fight. Jack Hager versus Wardlow, and the winner was Hager. Defeated Wardlow by referee stoppage.
Well, UFC, they made the ring look like UFC style in a cage, UFC style cage. But Jack Swagger used to be a MMA type fighter too. He went from WWE when he was in WWE to not the UFC, but the other one, the MMA Ballard series.
Mm-hmm.
He went there. He was very successful there. Then he came here, so Wardlow thought he could be, Mr. MMA himself, and so took him. So Swagger put the MMA fight, and they went into it, and Swagger knew his way around the octagon, and he really took it to him. And the only way the referee had to stop it because Wardlow couldn't defend himself.
Second matchup of the night was was a handicap match. Darby Allin versus the men of the year, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. And the winner of this was Page and Sky defeated Allin.
Yeah, it was a handicap match. Scorpio Sky is the one that threw Darby Allin down the stairwells before the Merrill match, and that next week Merrill challenged him for the TNT title, and that's how he won it, because he knew that Darby Allin was injured and stuff like that. So I kind of figured you got a 2-on-1 handicap match. Darby Allin was going to be set to lose this one.
Up next was Orange Cassidy and Cesar Bononi. And the winner of this one was Cassidy over Bononi.
But Noni is not a really well known yet. He's an upcoming star. Orange Cassidy's got a big following. So that makes sense for Orange Cassidy to win. Orange Cassidy's, I mean, he's due for a title shot, championship shot. I mean, anybody can do, put one hand in your pocket and still make moves on people, and then you beat Jericho, one of the biggest wrestling stars in Jericho, in the Orange Juice match. It's time for him to be in a either a TNT title match or a World Championship match.
Up next is Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson versus QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. The winner of this was Cody Rhodes, and Brock Anderson defeated QT Marshall and Aaron Solo.
Well, you kind of figured that Cody Rhodes and them going to win. This is the first match for Anderson, who is Arn Anderson's son. So, you got to get him started on it. He's part of the Nightmare family. So this is a good way to get it started. You in the ring with Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall and the Factory. So, I mean, to me, I think it's just the way they putting over QT Marshall and the Factory, losing to the Nightmare. I think it's a good slow build up for eventually for a QT Marshall and being on the uprise and stuff like that. So, but going back to Arn Anderson, he's a big man. He's a big influence, and his son, helping his son out. So I see that kind of a victory coming in hindsight.
Up next is Julia Hart versus Penelope Ford. The winner was Ford defeated Hart.
I like Penelope Ford, even though she's on the bad side. Her and her husband, I don't know if they're really married in real life or not, but in the program they're married. So, I mean, she's a good wrestler. She's a good, agile person. I think she's an upcoming, soon to be world champion herself, but she's still a little bit raw, and I think these matches are good for her. So I think they got it right on this one.
And then the last match of the night is a 6-man tag team match. Peninsula El Zeramido, Eddie Kingston, and Frankie Kazarian versus Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers. And the winner is Jackson, and the Good Brothers defeated Penta, Kingston, and Kazarian. Kazarian. I said Kazarian.
Yeah, Kazarian, it's just still building up a storyline with the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks. And so, I mean, to me, Eddie Kingston was the big star in this match. They try to make Kingston lose a little bit more before the big inter coup de grace with him and Jon Moxley teaming up again, going up against Omega and one of the good, either one of the good fellows or Omega putting the good fellows or the Young Bucks in there. I mean, setting up for Eddie Kingston, and maybe Jon Moxley wants a tag team championship. I mean, you never know.
So that goes down to really the last segment after talking about the matches. To continue on the segment of that we did last week, where we talk about maybe one wrestler that is not a wrestler today, but hasn't been like that. But has been a wrestler back years ago. I would say around the 90s and earlier on. And the wrestler of the week. So who's your wrestler that you chose to pick?
Well, I chose, and going back to my beginning of my wrestling days of watching wrestling and stuff like that, and the person that hanged over me was Magnum TA, Terry Wayne Allen. He was a great wrestler. He He knew the odds and end. He was with Dusty Rose. Dusty Rose taking him under his wing. He had that great I Quit match with Tully Blanchard. Made Tully Blanchard say I quit to win the WCW, the TV title. His wrestling career got cut really short because he was in a major car accident that took him, paralyzed him from the waist down a little bit. And then he's now able to walk with a cane. He's older now, but he was on his way to being one of the great, soon to be world championship. Just too bad the tragedy of the car accident he had out near Norfolk, Virginia. That's where he lives. And now he lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where most wrestlers retired to, in Charlotte. I don't know why, but they do. Anyway, but he had a good career. He started wrestling in 1978. He joined the National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA. That's why I started watching him before he came WCW. He was a global tag team champion. He was a Mid-South wrestling. He wrestled under the name Magnum PI. Magnum TA, I'm sorry. His favorite and I don't know why he liked it, is because his favorite television show was Magnum PI. So he made himself Magnum TA after that. He was in a Jim Crockett promotion in 1984. He won the National Wrestling Alliance Jim Crockett promotion, United States Heavyweight Championship, and that's what the United States Heavyweight Championship now you see in WWE has come from out of the Jim Crockett promotion, which it was WCW, and of course we know Vince McMahon at the end bought WCW out and ended Monday Night Wars. He had to retire in October 14th, 1986. He was driving a Porsche and in the rain and lost control, wrapping the car around a telephone pole. The accident happened on Silas Road in Charlotte, North Carolina. It happened actually in Charlotte, North Carolina. I knew the road very well. There's a big curve in that road. If you take it when the rain is slick, you can lose control of your car. But forensic reports show that he was driving the speed limit and he was left in the car for 2 hours before a witness called 911. The accident caused the C4 and C5 vertebrae to explode, and doubt at the time whether he would ever walk again. Doctors in the Carolina Medical Center and Allen physical condition saved his life. So he was also a big good friend with Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Sting, and all the major characters in WCW. So to me, he was one of my favorite wrestlers. That I Quit match was unbelievable with Tully Blanchard, and that was his big highlight of his career until his accident happened. And it cut his wrestling career short. And he never had a World Heavyweight title. And he was getting ready to go up against Ric Flair before this accident happened, and that would have been a really good show to see him and Flair go at it.
For mine, I decided to go with Lex Luger. Lex Luger, he currently born June 2nd of 1958. He also, along with wrestling, he also had a little bit of a football career. He played a little bit in the Canadian Football League on the Montreal Alouettes. He then signed with the Green Bay Packers for a little bit. But really his professional wrestling career started off in 1985 with NWA Florida. He met Bob Roop at the celebrity golfing event in Florida, which was given a chance to be. That's really where his professional wrestling started. He then moved on after NWA Florida. He went over to National Wrestling Alliance in 1987 to 1992. Really was where he's part of the Four Horsemen group, and then he is part of the World Bodybuilding Federation, World Wrestling Federation. Then he returned to WCW. So that's really what I have for him. He's a little bit out in football, and but he's probably bigger. He's probably bigger in the wrestling. He was better wrestler than he was as a football player.
Yeah. And one thing about Lex Luger, he's the one that slammed Yokozuna on the aircraft carrier. That's when he made his WWE debut. They flew him in on a helicopter to an aircraft carrier, and he went and at the time they were passing out money saying nobody could slam Yokozuna, and they had wrestlers try. Macho Man tried it that early that day. He couldn't do it. So Lex Luger came in on a helicopter, came and picked him up and slammed him. He had an accident. He had a steel plate in his forearm. He used that forearm for a weapon. Used some of the times when he wrestled. I know him in WCW. He was part of the Four Horsemen. Him and Sting were good friends at one time. They wrestled against Nikita Koloff and the Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff. I've seen a lot of Lex Luger, and then the turbo thing, him and Miss Elizabeth used to be Macho Man's manager, used to be married to Macho Man. They got divorced, and she was dating Lex Luger, and then she got into Lex Luger was into drugs. She was into drugs, and she died with an overdose. And wrestling world always blamed Lex Luger for it. He had an addiction. He came out and admitted he had an addiction, but he's now a real born Christian again. He's going around talking to people that are taking steroids, not to take steroids, because he's now in a wheelchair. He can get up and walk, but he has to. If he goes a longer distance, he has to wear, either on a scooter or a wheelchair. So I mean, that's how. And then he's lost all his muscle. He's real skinny. He's real. That's what happens when you steroids and all that stuff. You look kind of shabby looking. So Lex Luger, he's a good wrestler and everything. I liked him when he was, the total package. When he put him in the torture rack, that was an awesome move because nobody really seemed to put somebody behind their neck and just start breaking them.
So that is all I have. Any other final comments before we get this close?
Think about when Survivor Series comes up, you'll probably see Rock Dwayne Johnson against Roman Reigns show up at time between after SummerSlam and WrestleMania. SummerSlam, and you'll see him, and then you got the Edge supposedly coming back probably during the SummerSlam also. So you see Edge and them, and then watch out for the WWE draft party towards the end of the year, and Big E moving over from SmackDown to Raw, and then John Cena. He's winning the 17th straight title.
I gave a hot take on it on a different podcast. Actually, I think Edge is going to be back by Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
only because he was on the poster.
Yeah, he could be. He could be in that. He could show up and be in the. He could be in there. He could be on Monday Night Raw before and end up being one of the contestants. Or he could be a surprise contestant into the Money in the Bank.
All right. So if he's a surprise contestant in Money in the Bank, do you think he'll be on SmackDown on Friday?
I don't know. Either Monday Night Raw or SmackDown.
So this has been Nate the Great and Ray Cruz signing out, and we'll see you next week.